This is video number 3 for portraits. Remember to get out your diagram of faces and follow along. This one has to do with age. All right, let's try a couple more. This time let's try something that has to do with age and how that affects the face. Remember to get out your basic diagram. It's still going to follow that, except for younger heads, and I'm going to share that a little bit as we go along. And now let's move on to the 2 heads. Here I have a child of about 5 or 6 years old and an older person. So there's a lot of differences happening here. We still will start with that basic structure of the face and then build on top of that for the individual features. Start at the very beginning. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is the height of the head. So we want to just kind of lay out the top of the head to the base of the chin. Compare that to the width. I'd say it's about 3/4. So we kind of sketch in a side of a head lightly there, okay? Center line down the center of the face. But look at this. This is where it's interesting. When a child is born, a baby is born, the cranium, the skull, is much bigger than the rest of the face, and then the rest of our face grows into that. This stays pretty much set. So a child's eyes is much further down because of the size of the skull is larger. So if we measure this, we can see if this is from the chin to the eyes, notice how the eyes to the top of the head, it's bigger. So the eyes are not quite halfway. Halfway would be about here. They're down a little further. So I'm going to draw a quick little line in for that to indicate that age. Now she's grown a little bit. A baby head would be much bigger. And as they go through adolescence, it starts to adjust. All right, eye distance, eyes are still an eye distance apart. Yay, that's the same. That does not really change. The curve of her eye, remember, check those angles up and gently down. This one goes up rather quickly, gently down. The iris here, the iris, where does it touch on that upper lid? And it goes up behind that upper lid and then barely touches that lower lid. The pupil would be in here, and the pupil would be here. Now, even by the weight of your lines here, you can indicate, yes, that indicates her eyelashes and all, but also by making this a little bit lighter, you can get the feeling, even in black and white, that she has blue eyes instead of brown eyes. Let's check her eyebrow. It's about the width of the eye, like the depth of the eye here goes up to the eyebrow. Very thin, very nice. Where does it start? It starts over the iris, not all the way into the nose. Use other lines you have already put down to help you measure your new lines. Where do they fit? Where do they start? In comparison to something else, where does it go? The nose, I'm trying to that distance between the eye. Again, you can see I'm estimating with my finger, but you could measure it out. But you know what? Then it starts to get a little stiff. You measure too closely, it starts to get a little stiff. Her nostrils are almost straight apart. Now we get down to that open lip right there. Quick line from the pupils down to the corner of the mouth. This has a slight bow to it. Remember, this is the opening under the upper lip. That's what we're looking at right there. That's the really only line. Corner of the mouth. Very slight angle here. Check the angle of this. Bringing your geometry back in. What's the angle? If this is vertical, what's the angle compared to that? There's that soft smile. Now her cheeks are also pulling up. Her muscles are pulling up that line there. But because she's young, you don't want to overemphasize that. Now let's do her face. Tall forehead. Here. See, I've kind of visually measured from her eyes to the top of her head. I would say that's about 1/3. So that's kind of where I'm getting that. Very rectangular forehead. Okay. Bringing it down beside the temple, Very gentle temple curve, very subtle cheekbone. There's that jaw and that angle coming in there, down to the chin. It's the angle going off this way for that one, then not quite straight up to that. So now we can bring in this line. This comes down this way. Basically, that's the outline of her face. Now remember, when you're doing this, get a chance to step back and double check everything. I'm doing this quickly for you, just to give you the idea. Hairline starts here, her part starts on the other side. And then it kind of grows out and wisps back up. She's got some curl in there somehow. This wayward thing kind of comes down, up, back, kind of indicating, I'm not going to draw this line, but that is where her part goes. And then the hair comes down off from that. Back here, massing the hair, folds down behind this curve. Ears. The ears again are between like the nose and the eyes, so here is where her ear is going to kind of fall. Remember on the original diagram, it was kind of a B shape, like the letter B. Okay. Again, checking angles here and there, you'd always watch that as you're going along. Hair comes down to here. I need her neck coming down from behind that jaw, down to her shoulders. And the shoulder coming off this way. Look at the angle here and how the shoulder falls off. It's all, those tangential angles are really going to help you define where those go. All right. And now this area, notice the shape of it. It's very oblong, sideways. Hair folds up, comes down. Hair sits on the shoulder, then falls down over it. Same here, comes from behind the ear, sits on the shoulder, curves down over that shoulder. So, very lightly, very quickly, that's kind of our first face. Some wispy hair falling back there. Now we'll try the next. This time we're working with an older face. Same basic measurements, but so many things happen with age, and the basic thing is gravity, all right? The other aspect is life wrinkles. I like the wrinkles, I'm sorry. I probably could have worked on, I'm not going to, because to me, it indicates character and life and those experiences. The smile lines, yeah, I hope I have those. I have a couple little scowl lines, but that's okay. You know, there were times when I'm thinking very seriously. Anyway, those are things to think about, and the gravity is pulling the skin down. It pulls it down at the jowls, it pulls it down at the eyes, around the corners of the mouth and this neck. I love how people have face work done and they forget the neck. I give up. My brother said, wear a turtleneck. I'm like, why? I am who I am. I like it. All right, starting with the head, top of the head, down to the chin. The height and the width, it's almost as wide as it is high. Just light measurements to the side of the head. The eyes, again, are halfway, not like the child's. The child's eyes are lower, but an adult head, the eyes are about halfway. Center of the face. Eventually you won't have to do these lines, but it's good when you're starting out and learning. All right, distance between the eyes, eye distance apart. Now at this point we want to ignore the glasses. It's like when you're drawing the head, you kind of ignore the hair. You want to ignore everything except the basic structure. So I'm going to ignore those glasses right now, even though it's kind of tricky to see past them. Okay. That angle goes up. She's very rounded here, and then down quickly. This one I can't quite see. All right, that's that lid. We throw in her iris. Remember that placement, how it touches the top of the lid, and then it would go up behind that lid. And where it touches the lower lid. Her eyebrows are very light and behind her glasses. I'm just going to kind of indicate where they would go, if we could see them well. Now the nose, distance between the eyes, almost to the base of the nose. Her nostrils are fairly visible. And we're not even talking about shading again. Down to that lip area. Her lip is very straight across. Let's find out where the edges of the mouth are going to go by drawing a line down from the pupils. This side, I notice, goes down a little bit before it goes across. And then this side stays a little bit up. That seems like it's really far out there. Why does it seem so far out? Again, this is where I would step back and check it out. But for the sake of the video, I'm being very quick. All right. That's the chin. Let's do the side of the face. Bringing this down. Cheekbone, this angle, that jaw angle. And right now, I mean, I've studied. When you go through college and take all those courses, you learn about the bone structure, the muscles, what muscles are under there, what bones are under there, and that takes time. It's great to be able to have a skull and to draw from life. If not, go ahead. How many people have a skull lying around their house? Anyway, draw from diagrams and things that you can find on the internet. I highly recommend real photographs, not drawing from someone else's drawing, but from the closest thing to life, which would be a photograph. All right, temple goes in more. Oh, I forgot to mention this time, her forehead is quite rectangular. All right, temple goes in, the cheekbones out, but now the hollow of the cheek is stronger because of that age pulling that down. And you can see a fleshy area where as it goes over her jaw, it's also, the skin is lightly hanging off that jaw and down to the chin here. The basic structure, the bone's not going to change, but the skin hangs down below that, and I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit here for you. All right, this side. But these are all things to take into consideration. Study carefully the model or the photograph you're doing. There's the hollow of that chin. Let's let it droop down. A little more of that extra skin around the jaw, and then the skin that comes down between the chin and the neck here. And here's the neck kind of coming off. And we're looking a little down on her body here, so the shoulder is coming from higher. This is not a perfect straight-on photograph. Again, if you're not sure, do those angles. I'm going to bring her neck down a little bit. I mean, her shoulders down from where the photograph is. It's smart because as you're older, to take a photograph a little bit from above, it gives you a better angle, minimizes those wrinkles if you're trying to look good. All right, so here's that. Let's get some of this hair in. Her hairline starts here, but then the hair grows out from here. Everybody has a natural way. Oh, I forgot her ears. Between the eyes and the mouth, kind of there. These earlobes also hang down quite a bit. Hers a little bit more because she's got earrings pulling down those earlobes. And she's had those there for probably quite a while. Now the hair. Shorter hair. Think of the area. How is this hair growing? How is this area growing? It comes out of here. This one grows out of here at that curve, combs it back. This one comes out over and starts to fall down into it. Rough idea. Okay. Pupils. This one's very distinct. There now are more lines around the eyes. Look at these lines. These are shadows, folds of skin but also shadows. Very distinct there as the eye sits back in that eye socket. The skin has been settling down into it. Check the lines that you are going to use. You don't necessarily want too many heavy lines. This skin is coming down. Everything pulls down a little bit more. She does have a mole right there. Little line right here. You can see by adding these lines, it makes her look a little older. Skin line by the neck, corner of that mouth follows the bone. Always be thinking of what's going on underneath. At the chin, it's not changing much because there's a bone there. The same up here on the cheekbones. It's the skin around it that you see the differences with. We would add a shirt later on if we had more time. And then this point is basically where if you're going to, you could put her glasses on. Sitting that across the bridge of the nose, out to the corner. Look at the angles of the glasses is going to help you to draw them. Just think angles. Compared to the vertical or horizontal, what angle is this happening? And then like this one here, if you're finishing up a drawing, just a little hint, notice the highlight is really glaring off that light, the lens, I'm sorry. So you would lose a lot of that eye to the highlight. Okay? Anyway. That skin underneath. All right, so that's the second face. Our next two faces here, of course you can see the difference. The eyes are a little lower on the child's face. There's no wrinkles, smoother skin, healthier. That's how it's happening. The older face, things are drooping down a little bit. The eyes are halfway, and allow those wrinkles in that skin to fall. Be careful about the wrinkles. How much, how not too much. If a child's looking too old, check the lines, check the shading, soften it. That will soften the look. You're not necessarily doing something exactly the way you see it, but the feeling of it, the ambiance, the way that person feels young and another person feels old. Shading, another whole aspect. We'll get into that eventually. Thanks so much for watching. Do subscribe and share with your friends. I hope you've enjoyed this. There are so many more aspects to doing a portrait, including shading and color and then angles of the face and tilting. And this is a good start, so good for you. Do subscribe and let me know if you have any questions or comments. Stay dusty.